We walk by faith and not by sight. No gracious words we hear of him who spoke as none e'er spoke, yet we believe him near.
We may not touch his hands and side, nor follow where he trod, yet in his promise we rejoice and cry, my Lord and
Yet we believe him near.
Hello everyone, this is Father Joe for the readings and reflection for the 16th Sunday in Ordinary Time for July 19th, 2020. And our first reading is from the Book of Wisdom. There is no God besides you who have the care of all, that you need show you have not unjustly condemned. For your might is the source of justice, your mastery over all things make you lenient to all. For you show your might when the perfection of your power is disbelieved, and in those who know you, you rebuke temerity. But though you are master of might, you judge with clemency, and with much lenience you govern us. For power, whenever you will, attends you. And you taught your people by these deeds that those who are just must be kind, and you gave your children good ground for hope, that you would permit repentance for their sins. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Lord, you are good and forgiving. You, O Lord, are good and forgiving, abounding in kindness to all who call upon you. Hearken, O Lord, to my prayer, and attend to the sound of my pleading. Lord, you are good and forgiving. All the nations you have made shall come and worship you, O Lord, and glorify your name, for you are great and you do wondrous deeds. You alone are God. Lord, you are good and forgiving. You, O Lord, are a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in kindness and fidelity. Turn toward me and have pity on me. Give your strength to your servant. Lord, you are good and forgiving. A reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Romans. Brothers and sisters, the Spirit comes to the aid of our weakness. For we do not know how to pray as we ought, but the Spirit himself intercedes with inexpressible groanings. And the one who searches hearts knows what is the intention of the Spirit, because he intercedes for the holy ones, according to God's will. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. The Lord be with you and with your spirit. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Glory to you, O Lord. Jesus proposed another parable for the crowd, saying, The kingdom of heaven may be likened to a man who sowed good seed in his field. While everyone was asleep, his enemy came and sowed weeds all through the wheat and then went off. When the crop grew and bore fruit, the weeds appeared as well. The slaves of the householder came to him and said, "Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? Where have the weeds come from?" He answered, "An enemy has done this." His slave said to him, "Do you want us to go and pull them up?" He replied, "No. If you pull up the weeds, you might uproot the wheat along with them. Let them grow together until harvest. Then at harvest time I will say to the harvesters, 'First collect the weeds and tie them in bundles for burning, but gather the wheat into my barn.'" He proposed another parable to them. "The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that a person took and sowed in a field. It is the smallest of all the seeds, yet when full grown, it is the largest of plants. It becomes a large bush, and the birds of the sky come and dwell in its branches." He spoke to them another parable. "The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed with 3 measures of wheat flour until the whole batch was leavened." All these things Jesus spoke to the crowds in parables. He spoke to them only in parables, to fulfill what had been said through the prophet, "I will open my mouth in parables. I will announce what has lain hidden from the foundation of the world." Then, dismissing the crowds, he went into the house. His disciples approached him and said, "Explain to us the parable of the weeds in the field." He said in reply, "He who sows good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, the good seed the children of the kingdom. The weeds are the children of the evil one, and the enemy who sows them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the harvesters are angels. Just as weeds are collected and burned up with fire, so will it be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send his angels, and they will collect out of his kingdom all who cause others to sin, and all evildoers. They will throw them into the fiery furnace, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Whoever has ears ought to hear." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. The word "why" is one of the most often heard words, especially for parents of young children. You know, it's good that the children want to know more about their world and about their home or their brothers or sisters or their pets or whatever, and so they ask why quite often. Sometimes the question why can be hard because there's no clear answer or easy answer. And sometimes the question why can be annoying, especially when a child is told to do something and keeps asking why. A child psychiatrist, in writing about the why question, said her husband came up with a good response to those hard why questions. The psychiatrist said that her husband said that he tells their own child, their own daughter, instead of trying to answer the hard why questions, he says, "Well, tell me more about that." The psychiatrist writes that this request, "Tell me more about that," opens up communication and helps to provide a more detailed explanation, gives the parent a little bit easier time, perhaps, trying to figure out what the child wants to know, instead of trying to give a cause and effect type of answer. It allows the child to explain himself or herself, and also allows the parent to explain himself or herself a little bit more. Why is one of those questions we have in dealing with what Jesus talks about in the first of the 3 parables in today's gospel. Why is there evil is really the question is being asked. Why is there evil along with the good? As people of faith, we often ask about the question of evil or suffering and why God would allow this to happen. And these issues have been around since the beginning of mankind, and we can read them all throughout the Old Testament as well. And we can't always answer them satisfactorily. We are frustrated sometimes that our answers can only go so far. We want to know, to use the image of today's gospel, why is it that there are weeds among the wheat? Why is it that evil exists with good? In today's gospel, Jesus tells us in the first parable about the parable of the wheat and the weeds. The weeds have become so intertwined with the wheat that to pull up the weeds might destroy the good wheat. So the farmer decides to wait until harvest time to pull out the weeds, when it'll be easier to do so. The image given is that at the end of time, at the harvest, the evil and the good, the weeds and the wheat, will be separated out and given their punishment or their reward. Until the end of time, until that time, good and evil mingle in our world. But the word why, again, is always on our lips. Why did God create a world with so much pain and suffering caused by natural disasters and by the evil choices humans make? Like that child psychiatrist's husband, I may not have the answer fully to the question of why, but I will try to tell you more about that. For example, we can identify two types of evil in general terms. There's a physical evil. By the resurrection of Jesus, God redeemed the human race and the world, creation. And although redeemed, we have not yet reached our ultimate perfection. We struggle, we fall. We're on a journey with its joys and sorrows. And some theologians talk about our physical world in the same way. God created the world good, but it too has been touched by the problem of evil and also by the evil of humans. The world has been redeemed, but it also has not reached its ultimate perfection. Physical evil exists alongside physical good until creation reaches its ultimate perfection. If you remember in last Sunday's second reading from St. Paul, his letter to the Romans, we read, "We know that all creation is groaning in labor pains, even until now." And that was in St. Paul's time. And it groans still, even until now. A second type of, generally speaking, evil is moral evil, and which is a little easier to explain, although it creates stumbling blocks for us. God also chose to give men and women, and angels, free will, so that we could journey to heaven, our ultimate home. Besides making good choices that can bring greater love into the world, or that can reflect the holiness of God in our world, we can make sinful choices that bring evil into the world. God does not in any way cause moral evil, but he respects our freedom by allowing us to choose it. And this we know all too well. But much like a little child who asks a lot of questions, we might keep asking again, why? And the questions can outnumber the answers. But something else that can be said, there is something else that can be said, which is a reason for hope. God can cause a good to come out of the suffering we make or have, and God can cause good to come out of the evil we suffer. We read also in the letter to the Romans, "We know that all things work together for good for those who love God." Now, technically, that's in next Sunday's second reading, but I'm cheating a little bit, bringing it in today. It's Romans chapter 8, same chapter we hear today, but verse 28. "We know that all things work together for good for those who love God." All things work together for good. So God can transform the evil we suffer or the sufferings we endure into opportunities for our holiness, for our sanctification. We can be made holy by those things we suffer if we allow God to be part of it. And as we read in our first reading today from the Book of Wisdom, "You, Lord God, show your might when the perfection of your power is disbelieved." You show your might when the perfection of your power is disbelieved. God can and will show his power even when we don't believe he will. When our whys create doubt about God's mercy, he can still make himself known. For us to see him make himself known, we have to call upon him. Remember what that psychiatrist's husband said. In the response to the tough why questions, he said, "Tell me more about that." Well, we as Christians are asked to tell God more about that. It's almost as if God's saying to us, well, tell me more about that. We need to tell God more about that. To pray and open our hearts, to tell him our joys, our sorrows, our worries, our temptations, our inclinations, our hopes. And we do so here, or we do so at the Mass, at the greatest prayer that we offer. We do it in our own prayer, in our opening hearts to the Lord. But we do so too at the greatest prayer that we can offer as Catholics, the Holy Mass. It's at Mass that we place ourselves before the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross, And so we place ourselves before him. We tell God more about us, and we receive him. You know, a parishioner once told me that she, figuratively speaking, places her intentions or her needs on the plate of hosts that's brought up to the altar with the gifts. I know we're not bringing up gifts right now at the altar the way things are at Mass, but we can still, in our sense, place our needs on the plate of hosts, the paten we call it, or the ciborium, the container of hosts. We can place those things, our intentions, our needs, our worries, our concerns, on that plate or in that ciborium, and offer them to Jesus, who offers them to the Father. And we do so that we may experience in our own life that God makes all things work for good for those who love him. May God bless you and keep you. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.